The night destiny chose Kion did not arrive with thunder or fire, but with a silence so heavy it pressed against his chest until breathing itself felt like a challenge. The Pride Land slept beneath a silver moon, unaware that everything was about to change. Stern at the endless plains, where every path of his life seemed to stretch at once. He was the leader of the Lion Guard, the wielder of the roar of the elders, or below. The grass shifted softly in the night wind, carrying memories with it. Back then, kings were stories told by the stars, and responsibility was a word that belonged to someone else. They'd choose someone to live them. The clouds above slowly parted, and the faint outline of Mufasa appeared among the stars. Not speaking, just watching. The great kings of the past never appeared without reason. Kion lowered his head, respect mixing with unease. The wind answered instead, swirling around Pride Rock, carrying the distant cries of nocturnal creatures. Kion felt it in the way the land breathed, in the way the roar rested inside him like a sleeping giant. Power had never frightened him before. Responsibility did. The call was simple, but its weight was anything but. The Pride Lands gathered below Pride Rock, animals lining the plains in quiet anticipation. Kion stood beside his father, feeling smaller than he ever had before, despite everything he had faced. Simba's gaze swept across the kingdom he had protected for so long, then settled on his son. When a king must prepare his successor not with words, but with truth. A ripple of surprise moved through the crowd. You knew this moment would come one day, but knowing and facing were two very different things. Simba continued, Kion has proven himself as a protector. Now, he must learn what it means to rule. Kion felt pride, fear, and doubt collide inside him. Rule, not defend. For the first time, Kion understood something terrifying. The journey to the throne is not walked in comfort, he said with a knowing smile. It is walked in questions. The first lesson came before the day even ended. The elders argued fiercely. Some demanded refusal to protect their own divism. Others pleaded for compassion. Simba said nothing. He turned to Kion. What do you choose? Kion felt every instinct push him toward mercy. And we helped them rebuild their land. Not everyone agreed. Some growled in protest. Others nodded reluctantly. The choice stood. No roar had followed his decision. No dramatic victory. That night, the Lion Guard gathered around him. Bunga tried to joke, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. Ono's eyes were sharp with concern. He wanted to laugh, to spar, to pretend nothing was changing. I don't know who I'm supposed to be anymore. Silence followed, heavy and honest. The Lion Guard had followed Kion into every battle, without question. But this path was different. There were no clear enemies, no simple victories. And for the first time, Kion wondered if becoming king meant slowly stepping away from the life they shared. Training began immediately. Not with claws or speed, but with listening. Rafiki forced Kion to sit through endless councils, arguments, and histories of conflicts older than memory. Days turned into weeks. The Pride Lands tested him constantly. A predator killed beyond agreed boundaries. A herd migrated too early. Accusations flew. Each time Kion stepped forward, heart pounding, choosing words instead of force. The roar burned inside him, begging for release. He denied it again and again, learning control the hard way. Then came the dream. Kion stood alone in the circle of life. The land cracked and broken around him. The spirits of kings surrounded him, their eyes glowing with expectation. Why do you want the throne? They asked. I don't, Kion answered instinctively. The ground trembled. Then why should it want you? Kion woke in a cold sweat, breath ragged. The dream haunted him all day, its question digging deeper with every step. Why should the throne want him? Protecting others had always been his purpose. But ruling meant shaping the future, not just defending the present. As sunset bled across the sky, Kion climbed Pride Rock once more. The land stretched endlessly before him, beautiful and fragile. He finally understood the truth he had been avoiding. Becoming king was not about replacing Simba. It was about becoming something new. Something the Pride Lands would need when Simba could no longer stand there. Far away, unseen forces stirred. Whispers of unrest traveled on the wind. Old enemies listened. New ones learned his name. The world beyond, that Pride Lands was changing, and it was watching Kion closely. Kion lifted his head, eyes reflecting the stars. The journey to the throne had begun, not with a roar, but with a question that would follow him everywhere he went. And deep in his heart, he knew the path ahead would demand more than courage. It would demand everything. The first true test of Kion's journey arrived not with claws or enemies, but with a choice that split the Pride Lands down the middle. At dawn, the plains echoed with uneasy murmurs as herds gathered closer than ever to Pride Rock, fear tightening the circle of life like a noose. The drought Kion had hoped to control had spread faster than expected, drying watering holes beyond the borders and forcing desperate migrations toward the heart of the kingdom. Hunger sharpened tempers. Old alliances cracked. Balance trembled. Kion stood before the gathered animals, feeling the weight of every stare. This time, Simba did not stand beside him. He watched from a distance, his expression unreadable. As if reminding Kion that guidance had limits and leadership could not be borrowed forever. Rafiki's staff tapped once against the stone, signaling silence. The moment was Kion's alone. "We cannot pretend this will fix itself," Kion said, his voice steady though his chest burned with pressure. "If we do nothing, the Pride Lands will tear itself apart from the inside." A low growl rippled through the crowd. Some demanded the borders be sealed immediately. Others begged for open access to water and hunting grounds. Each side claimed survival. Each side feared extinction. Kion listened, forcing himself not to interrupt, not to rush toward an answer that felt safe. Every argument carved deeper into him. When he finally spoke, the air seemed to tighten. "We will rotate access," he said. "Shared water, limited time, equal sacrifice. No group feeds first. No group starves alone." The reaction was explosive. Anger flared. Accusations flew. Some saw fairness. Others saw weakness. Kion did not raise his voice. He did not roar. He stood still and let the storm pass over him, for the first time. He felt what Simba had carried for years, the loneliness of making the right choice when gratitude was not guaranteed. The days that followed were brutal. Patrols increased. Conflicts broke out at shared boundaries. Kion spent his nights mediating disputes instead of resting, his body aching, his mind never quiet. The Lion Guard tried to help, but even they struggled to adjust. Bunga's instincts pushed him toward confrontation. Fully grew frustrated with endless negotiations. Ono warned constantly of rising tensions. Best remained steady, but even his calm could not shield Kion from the pressure closing in. One evening, after breaking up another near fight at a watering hole, Kion snapped. Not outwardly, not in rage, but inwardly, where it hurt the most. He climbed a high ridge alone, the stars sharp above him, and finally let the questions spill out into the night. "How did you do this?" he whispered, knowing the spirits were listening. "How did you carry everyone without breaking?" The answer did not come immediately. Instead, Kion was shown a vision. Not of Mufasa, not of Simba, of Scar. A king who chose control over balance. Power over responsibility. Fear over trust. The vision faded, leaving Kion shaken. He understood then that every king stood one decision away from becoming something the circle of life could not survive. The next challenge came swiftly, as if the world sensed his doubt. A rival kingdom sent emissaries, not with weapons, but with smiles too sharp to be trusted. They proposed an alliance, offering resources and protection in exchange for influence within the Pride Lands. It was tempting. The drought would ease. Stability would return. But the cost was quiet control, decisions shaped by outside interests. The council debated late into the night. Many supported the alliance. Others warned against it. Again, all eyes turned to Kion. He felt the roar stir within him, reacting not to danger, but to temptation. He thought of the vision, of Scar, of how easily balance could be traded away, piece by piece. "We stand alone," Kion said at last. "Not because we reject help, but because help that demands control is not help at all." The emissaries left displeased. The Pride Lands remained vulnerable. And Kion felt the weight of what he had just refused settle heavily on his shoulders. Leadership, he realized, often meant saying no to the easiest solution. That night, the Lion Guard confronted him openly. "You're carrying this by yourself," Fully said sharply. "That's not strength." Kion met her gaze, exhaustion clear in his eyes. "If I lean too much on you," he replied, "I won't grow into what this kingdom needs." The words hurt them all. He saw it immediately and regretted it, but he did not take them back. Kingship was already changing, the way he spoke, the way he thought. And he hated how necessary that change felt. Days later, disaster struck. A miscalculation in the shared rotation led to a near stampede, injuring several animals. Whispers turned into blame. Some accused Kion of being too young. Others compared him unfavorably to Simba. The doubt he had feared was no longer quiet. It was loud, public, and dangerous. Simba finally approached him that night, his voice calm but firm. "You cannot carry guilt for every wound," he said. "But you must learn from them." Kion lowered his head. "What if I'm not enough?" he asked. Simba paused, choosing his words carefully. Every king asks that question. The ones who fail are the ones who stop asking it. The reassurance helped, but it did not erase the growing sense that something darker was approaching. The land felt restless. Predators hunted closer to herds than ever before. The sky itself seemed tense. Ono's reports grew more alarming by the day. Thor beyond the Pride Lands. Unseen eyes studied Kion's choices. They saw his restraint, his mercy, his refusal to dominate. And they began to plan. On the night the stars vanished behind thick clouds, Kion dreamed again. This time, he stood before Pride Rock as it crumbled beneath his paws. The voices of the Pride Lands cried out, not in anger, but disappointment. "You tried," they said, but trying was not enough. He woke before dawn, heart racing, understanding the message clearly. The journey to the throne was no longer about learning how to rule. It was about surviving the moment when everything he believed would be tested at once. And that moment was drawing closer with every breath he took. The moment everything began to fall apart started quietly, the most dangerous way it ever could. No alarms, no distant roars, just a shift in the air that made the Pride Lands feel unfamiliar beneath Kion's paws. He noticed it while standing at Pride Rock before sunrise, watching shadows stretch too long across the plains. Balance was slipping, not in a single place, but everywhere at once, like cracks spreading through stone. Ono's report confirmed what Kion already felt. Multiple movements beyond the borders. Not an invasion. Coordination. Small disruptions designed to create fear, confusion, and mistrust. Herds driven off course. Predators lured into breaking old agreements. Rumors spreading faster than truth. Someone was testing him, measuring his reactions, searching for weakness. Kion called a council immediately. The elders argued for force this time, their patience worn thin by chaos. "Strike first," one lion growled. "Show them the Pride Lands is not weak." The roar stirred violently inside Kion at the suggestion. He could end this quickly. One command. One overwhelming display of power. Fear would restore order. The thought terrified him not because it wouldn't work, but because it would. "No," Kion said, his voice sharp enough to cut through the noise. "We will not rule through fear." Silence followed, heavy and uncertain. Some looked relieved, others disappointed. Kion felt the divide widening, the kingdom no longer united by instinctive trust, but held together by fragile belief. This was the cost of choosing balance over domination. Not everyone would follow willingly. The Lion Guard prepared to investigate the disturbances, but Kion stopped them. "Not as enforcers," he said. "As observers. Learn who benefits from this unrest." The decision frustrated Bunga openly. "We're just going to watch everything fall apart." Kion met his eyes, pain flickering beneath authority. "Free Russian blind, we give them exactly what they want." As days passed, the truth emerged. A coalition of exiles, former rivals, and those who believed the Pride Lands had always taken more than they deserved. At their center was a lion who did not roar, did not threaten, did not rush. He waited. He let others burn themselves out on Kion's restraint. And that patience made him far more dangerous than any enemy Kion had faced before. The first direct challenge came at the western border. A herd refused Kion's authority outright, declaring they would no longer follow a king who hesitated while others suffered. The words cut deep, not because they were cruel, but because part of Kion feared they were true. He went alone. No Lion Guard, no escort. Just himself and the weight of the crown he had not yet earned. The herd watched him approach with suspicion etched into every face. Kion stopped at a respectful distance, lowering his head. "Tell me what you need," he said. They shouted instead. Accusations. Anger. Stories of loss. Of decisions that came too late. Kion listened until his chest ached, until the urge to roar nearly tore free. When the noise finally died down, he spoke softly. "I can't undo what's happened," he said. "But I won't abandon you. Not now. Not ever." Some believed him. Others didn't. But none could say he hadn't come. That doubt wrapped around him tighter than fear ever had. The spirits did not appear. The stars felt distant. Kion realized something then that no lesson had prepared him for. A king could do everything right and still lose trust. Still fail. Still watch the circle of life fracture under choices made with the best intentions. The breaking point came sooner than expected. An attack erupted near the heart of the Pride Lands, swift and precise. Not meant to conquer, but to humiliate. The attackers retreated before the Lion Guard could fully engage, leaving destruction and fear behind. Whispers spread like wildfire. "He's too cautious. He's afraid to act. The roar should have ended this." Kion stood amid the aftermath, staring at the damage, feeling the roar pulsed violently within him. Every instinct screamed to unleash it, to remind the world why the Pride lands had remained unconquered for generations. His claws dug into the ground as he fought the urge, breath coming hard. Simba found him there, staring into the distance. "This is the moment," Simba said quietly. "Every king faces it. The moment where I decide what kind of king I am," Kion replied. Simba nodded. "And what you're willing to become to protect them." The silence that followed the confrontation did not feel like victory. It felt like truth settling into the bones of the Pride lands. Kion stood where the dust had barely finished falling, the echoes of the roar still fading into the distance. And for the first time since his journey began, he did not feel the need to look toward the horizon for the next thread. He felt the kingdom breathing, again uneven, scarred, but alive. Animals slowly emerged from hiding. Some approached him with relief in their eyes, others with uncertainty, and a few with lingering doubt. They did not bother to hide. Kion welcomed all of it. Praise would have been easier, but honesty was stronger. Who understood now that trust was not something he could demand or even earn once. It had to be rebuilt every day, choice by choice. Simba stepped forward at last, his presence calm and steady. He looked at Kion not as a father guiding a son, but as a king recognizing his successor. "You chose the circle of life over yourself," Simba said quietly. "That is the choice only a true king can make." Kion lowered his head, emotion tightening his chest. "I was afraid," he admitted. "Afraid I would lose them. Afraid I would lose who I am." Simba smiled softly. "You were never meant to rule without fear. You were meant to rule without letting fear decide for you." The days that followed were not easy. The Pride lands needed healing, not celebration. Borders had to be reinforced through agreement, not intimidation. Trust between predators and prey required patience and constant effort. Kion worked alongside everyone, listening more than speaking, guiding rather than commanding. The Lion Guard watched him closely, slowly realizing they were not being left behind, they were being elevated. Their roles changed. Fuli became a messenger between distant lands, her speed carrying words instead of claws. Ono coordinated watch from the skies, not just for danger, but for opportunity. Besht helped restore damaged paths and waterways, becoming a symbol of strength through care. Bunga, after struggling the most, learned that bravery wasn't always loud. Sometimes it meant standing still when chaos begged you to strike. One evening, Rafiki called Kion to Pride Rock. The sky burned orange as the sun dipped low, painting the land in fire and gold. "The journey you feared is ending," Rafiki said, tapping his staff. "And another begins." Q felt it before the words fully landed. This was not training anymore. This was transition. The ceremony was not announced with fanfare. It did not need to be. The Pride lands gathered naturally, drawn by instinct, by balance restoring itself. Simba stepped forward, his voice carrying across the plains with a strength shaped by years of sacrifice. "Circle of life does not stand still," he said. "It moves forward through those who are willing to carry it." He turned to Kion. "My son has walked the path of doubt, restraint, and choice. He has protected this kingdom, not with fear, but with understanding. Today, I step aside, not because I am weak, but because he is ready." A hush fell over the plains. Rafiki marked Kion's forehead, the familiar scent of tradition and renewal filling the air. Kion closed his eyes as the weight of the moment settled over him, not as pressure, but as clarity. When he opened them, the Pride lands looked the same, yet everything had changed. King Kion stepped forward. The roar that followed was not commanded. It arose, naturally from every corner of the land. Predators and prey united in a sound that carried pride, hope, and belief. Kion lifted his head, letting the roar wash over him, not feeding on it, not controlling it, sharing it? Later, when the land grew quiet again, Kion stood alone beneath the stars. The spirits appeared one final time, not towering, not testing. Mufasa's presence felt warm, complete. "You found your voice," he said. "Not in the roar, but in your choices." Kion bowed his head. "I'll keep choosing," he promised. As the spirits faded, Kion looked out over the Pride Lands, his kingdom. He knew challenges would return. Balance would be tested again. New enemies would rise. But he also knew something deeper than confidence. He would not face the future as a cub trying to become a king. He would face it as a king who had already proven that true power was not the ability to rule over others, but the courage to protect them without losing himself. And as the sun rose over the circle of life, King Kion stood ready for whatever story came next.